Hey everybody, welcome to the show, Around the Nation, right here, TYT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. Holy crap, we got quite a news day to talk about. Now, earlier we found out about the Cosby verdict, and of course, that is big news. I talked about it earlier. I'll probably talk about more in depth tomorrow when we have more information. Nonetheless, fascinating news. We got Scott Pruitt that I'm actually not going to talk about today either, but he might be in a little bit of trouble. Then we have Ronnie Jackson, who we are going to talk about today, who is, well, I'll save it for the story. We're going to also talk about Ben Carson and his changes at HUD, which are going to be fairly disastrous. I'll get into the details why. We have Fox News unsurprisingly lying about something that another country is doing. We're going to have details on that, of course. Then we have Diamond and Silk. Yeah, those are two people that I hope that I would never have to talk about. I'm going to end up having to talk about them. So we have that story as well. Oh, boy. And then finally, if we have time for it, something good. Something good. By Kirsten Gillibrand, no less. Interesting. So we'll talk about that. All right, everybody. Like I said, it's been a crazy-ass news day. And I'm fairly sure it's not even close to being over. We have, of course, the Democrats, I should say the DCCC and the DNC, paying Hillary Clinton money for her email list. That's very strange. And another story, like I said, we're not going to cover these today, but I will find time for them. A secret recording of a high-profile Democrat trying to push a progressive out of the race. That's very interesting. We'll talk about that, like I said, tomorrow. All right, everybody. Let's move on. Let's go into the first story. But before I do, I want to remind everybody, please give us a like. Please share the stream. Very important that you share out the stream so that more people can come in, more people can watch. If you are interested in supporting the show, there are a couple ways that you can do it too. You can use Super Chat throughout the show, and I'll read your comments. And you can also sign up to become a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That's helping us get through this time where things are getting pretty rough for the channel. So need your help more than any time we've needed your help before. So, all right. That said, stories go. The embattled Dr. Ronnie Jackson has officially withdrawn his nomination for VA Secretary after some interesting allegations that happen to paint him in a very negative light. Now, I'm going to go through some of those allegations, and then we'll go to why Trump originally tried to pick him as head of the VA. Sorry. Okay. So let's start out with the allegations of drinking and drugs. Oh, this is fun. Now, according to testimony during this confirmation hearing, which had been put on hold as of yesterday, and then, of course, today he has withdrawn that, his nomination to the post, Jackson had allegedly supplied or provided a large supply of Percocet, that is an opioid, to a White House military office staff member that he threw his own medical staff into a panic when it could not account for the missing drugs. So he's like, hey, man, look, I got some drugs. I got a lot of drugs. You want some? And, of course, everybody's like, oh, my God, all these drugs are missing. What did you do with them? What did you do with them? Well, we had a little bit of fun, apparently. Now, look, his nickname, apparently, when in the White House, because he has been the White House doctor for quite some time through George W. Bush, Obama, and now Trump, they called him the Candy Man. Any guess on why? Oh, it could be because he passes out pills like candy. Oh, man. Not only that, but a nurse on his staff said Dr. Jackson had written himself his own prescriptions, obviously for other types of drugs. And when he was caught, he's like, okay, I won't write my own prescriptions. I'm going to get another physician to write me a prescription for the same drugs that I love to party on. Now, there's more. At a Secret Service going away party, Jackson allegedly got so drunk, he decided to go and wreck a government vehicle. Well then, that's interesting. Look, if anything, it tells you that this guy, while probably fun to party with, and would have gotten along greatly with some of the people that I used to run with when I was younger, it shows that he shouldn't have been nominated at all. I mean, yeah, like I said, this guy obviously probably pretty popular inside the White House for what he's done. Nonetheless, not somebody that you want in charge of a big bureaucracy like the VA. Now, look, he should not have been nominated whatsoever. But of course, I'll get to the reason later on why he was nominated by President Trump. But first, more details on what he had done. During an overseas trip by the Obama administration in 2015, Dr. Jackson decided, hey, you know what, it'd be fun. I'm going to go out and do some bar hopping and do a little bit of drinking and have some fun. And then afterwards, he came back to the delegation's hotel. And then he began banging on the door of a staff member's hotel room, a female staff member's hotel room, according to an account shared with Democrats during his confirmation hearing. Now, the noise was apparently so loud that members of the Secret Service came in to see what the hell was going on. And they found Dr. Jackson there. And like, hey, man, look, you got to be quiet. Obama's in the next room. The President of the United States, you're going to wake him up. On another trip during Obama's presidency, White House staff members reached out to Dr. Jackson for medical reasons because he is the White House doctor. What they found when they decided to come to him for whatever reason, which is not specified in the article, they found him passed out in his hotel room after a night, again, of drinking. It sounds like this guy's got a real problem, right? Now, the staff members decided to take the medical supplies that they were looking for without waking Dr. Jackson. So, again, this guy got a serious problem, okay? It seems like. So you can't have someone like that who decides to get drunk and passes out having that job. Or running a giant bureaucracy, as I said before. Now, it gets worse because apparently some of the people who worked under Dr. Jackson had a few opinions about him. Interviewed staff members described Dr. Jackson as, quote, the most unethical person I have ever worked with. Flat out unethical and incapable of not losing his temper. Again, not somebody you want to place in charge of a giant bureaucracy. So, now the irony here is this probably would have matched Donald Trump to a T. Now, I know Trump doesn't drink or anything like that. Oh, no, Fred Trump, that kind of taught me. And maybe it did. But you don't think he's probably snorted a bit of cocaine? I would be surprised if he didn't. But look, the reason that Donald Trump wanted to pick Ronny Jackson, despite all of this, is the fact that he flattered Donald Trump. Look, he seems like a person that you could get along with. And again, somebody that you could party with. But that doesn't mean he should be doing the job, right? And look, what he did for Donald Trump is he gave him the elephant test to prove that he's not losing his mind. And was like, oh no, Donald Trump, he's in great health. Great health, great weight, great genes. Great genes. The best genes. Tremendous genes. So, look, the lesson here is if you butter the president up, then it doesn't matter who you are or what you've done when you're in office or how many, female staffers' hotel rooms you banged on in the middle of the night. If you just play the game and bow down, kiss the ring, kiss Donald Trump's ass, then it's very likely that you could get a job. So, and look, I know that sounds comical, but remember, This has happened before. Anthony Scaramucci, Omarosa, and Larry Kudlow. They've all been given White House positions. And look, all it was a little bit of buttering up. Now, look, this would have been comical had it not had affected real policy, right? Ronnie Jackson could have been in charge of over 300,000 employees, and his decisions would have impacted millions of veterans who depend on the VA. So, when it comes down to it, I may not personally hate the guy or have a personal problem with this guy, but as far as career-wise, this couldn't have happened to a better guy. Okay. All right. Moving on. Let's go to the big story of the day. Let's talk Diamond and Silk. Are you ready for this? You ready for this? Speaking of congressional hearings, this one's a doozy. All right. So, two prolific Trump-supporting women, Diamond and Silk, as they are known online, have had to testify before Congress. Now, the social media personalities and sisters, whose real names are Lynette Hardaway and Rochelle Richardson, have testified under oath before lawmakers on the House Judiciary Committee today on the filtering practices of social media platforms. Well, that sounds like an interesting / very obscure hearing, and really a hearing that shouldn't even be in Congress. But look, this is America 2018. This is the kind of shit that happens, and it's insanity. Now, let me give you the details of why they're testifying. Basically, the two have claimed on multiple occasions that Facebook is censoring conservative voices. So this is what's happening. What's going on here. Now, the duo have previously claimed unfair censorship after Facebook had reportedly deemed their content to be unsafe to the community and had blocked their page. Now, this is what they're claiming. I'm going to give you the real version. Now, there was a message sent to both Diamond and Silk on their Facebook page that said, "Your content is unsafe to the community." And then immediately Republicans imploded. Oh my God, how dare you? How dare you deem these two wonderful women, these conservative women, unsafe to the community? The libtards. I can't believe you're going after conservative voices, right? But here's what happened. That was actually sent by mistake. And yet, while they claim censorship, they claim that their page was taken down. It turns out that their page was never taken down in the first place. Here's what happened. Yes, Facebook sent them a message, right? That message was sent in error, and the page was never deleted or temporarily taken down. That was actually misreported in the first place. So, okay, well, if that never happened, then how were they censored by Facebook? Well, the answer is they weren't. They weren't censored. Not only that, but Facebook is not censoring or targeting conservative voices whatsoever. Now, let me give you some evidence of that. Now, Sean King and several transgender activists actually did have their pages blocked and taken down. They were also banned with no access or activity on their page. Now, of course, that was reversed later on. But nonetheless, oh look, we had left-wing pages that were actually censored, were actually taken down by Facebook. Diamond and Silk, their page was never touched, even though they did get a message in error. But nonetheless, of course, they're going to cry and cry, because that's what they do. Now, not only that, but they also claim that what Facebook did to them, and to them specifically, had limited their reach. Again, what's the reality? Well, let me give you that. Now, data from CrowdTangle, a social media analytics platform owned by Facebook, showed that total interactions on Diamond and Silk's Facebook page had actually remained quite steady. Now, that is interesting because there were recently some algorithm changes that had impacted a lot of different Facebook pages. Now, they said the total interactions metric covers the total number of reactions, comments, and shares of content posted to the page. Now, Diamond and Silk's Facebook page actually received more interactions in March of 2018 when they were supposedly censored than in March of 2017. Not only that, but Diamond and Silk also received more interactions in January of 2018 when they began complaining about censorship than in any month the previous year. So, look, as it happens after an election, yes, there are social media pages, political pages especially, that do wane, right? Because not as many people are quite as tuned in when it comes to politics. Well, that is, of course, that's something that I've experienced. That's something that a lot of other creators in news and politics have experienced. It's just a reality, right? But Diamond and Silk, yes, have actually seen more interactions. They've actually gotten bigger, all while they were complaining about censorship, because that's the big thing, right? So there are a lot of people out there that know that, hey, if I claim that I'm being censored by the big bad Facebook, well, then that means everybody's going to pay attention to me. And that's exactly what Diamond and Silk have been doing. So while they're saying, "Oh, I'm playing by censor, I'm being censored by Zuckerberg. He's after me. He's after conservatives because he's a big liberal." Actually, he's a neoliberal, and somebody who's more akin, I think, to Hillary Clinton than anybody else. But nonetheless, they say, look, conservatives like to lump all the left into one group, and it's maddening to me, and that's what I got to point out. But nonetheless, so that whole claim of censorship, you know what that is? It's a lie. It's a big lie, and it's actually a big grift. Do you want to know who actually lost out on Facebook? You're not going to be surprised to find out that it's left-wing pages. Here's Think Progress reporting. They said, when you compare Diamond and Silk's total interactions to liberal-leaning pages that also frequently post video content, you find that from March 2017 to March 2018, the total interactions in the Rachel Maddow Show page went from 3.3 million to 1.6 million. That's a significant drop. Her page has 2.6 million likes to Diamond and Silk's 1.2 million. Over the same time period, on the Facebook page of the Young Turks, total interactions declined from 2.3 million to 760,000. Again, a significant drop. Now, Mike probably had the biggest drop of all. Interactions on Mike's Facebook page, a publisher with 3.8 million Facebook fans, plummeted from 8.9 million to 470,000. That is an enormous drop. So, now, they also say that over the last year, views of original videos posted to Rachel Maddow's Facebook page have declined from 6 million to 1.2 million. So all of these different pages have had serious drops. Now, Diamond and Silk's videos have declined from 4.1 million to 1.8 million. Now, that means that Diamond and Silk get more video views on Facebook than Rachel Maddow, even though Maddow actually has more people that like her page. Well, that's interesting, right? That's a little strange. And yet, of course, oh no, it's conservatives that are being targeted. Now, here's the thing, right? Look, the whole thing is Facebook's algorithm change. That explains everything that's been going on. Facebook decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make more posts show up from friends and family, and we're going to de-emphasize all the news and politics pages. So it doesn't matter if you're right-wing, it doesn't matter if you're left-wing. If you have a page on Facebook, then you're no longer going to be in the feed as much as you used to be. So that explains all the enormous declines. Now, look, people on YouTube, both right and left, have also been experiencing a similar thing. For example, I've lost about 50% of my views, right? Thanks to another algorithm change when it comes to YouTube. So we're all getting killed here, right? So it's not one side being targeted over the other. But look, you ask a conservative, then they're going to say, oh, we're the ones being targeted by the leftists over at YouTube. That is absolutely ridiculous. They're not the victims of political bias. They're the victims of algorithms through machine learning. And I disagree with the algorithm. And I disagree with what YouTube has been doing to try to appease their advertisers. Now, I want to show you another lie here, right? Now, in their testimony today, Diamond also claimed that they had never been paid by the Trump campaign. Well, let me see if that's true. In a November 2016 receipt shows the Trump campaign had paid the Diamond and Silk more than $1,200 for field consulting. That's interesting. Now, we were never paid by the Trump campaign. What about the $1,200 you were paid for consulting? That's rather strange. And to be honest, that's not a lot of money. Nonetheless, it is a payment, and it was addressed to them. Now, Hakeem Jeffries brought this up, this FEC filing. You know what they said about it? Fake news. Doesn't exist. It's not real. That is the go-to for pretty much everything that they disagree with. You come in there with FEC filings with actual facts, and they're like, no, fake news. Fake news doesn't exist. They have the receipts. Again, it's obvious they're lying to you because they're incredible liars. Now, there's one more outrageous lie. Now, in their testimony, Diamond and Silk both said, subtle and slowly, Facebook used one mechanism at a time to diminish reach by restricting our page, which they did not, so that our 1.2 million followers would not see our content, thus silencing our conservative voices. When we reached out to Facebook for an explanation, they gave us the runaround. Well, that's not true. I just pointed out how old pages lost a ton of viewership because of those algorithm changes. Now, liberal, conservative, it doesn't matter. It has affected all of us. So no, they are not silencing your conservative voice. In fact, Ari Waldman, director of the Innovation Center for Law and Technology at New York University, said Facebook's decision to change its algorithm so people see more posts from family and friends than news and other organizations affected far more than just Diamond and Silk. He said, quote, the result is that a lot of content just gets filtered out, but no more so from the right than from the left. In fact, some of the biggest pages on Facebook actually belong to conservatives. I think 5 of the 12 biggest pages belong to people who work for the Daily Wire. That's Ben Shapiro's, not Daily Wire, sorry. Now I can't think of the name, but Ben Shapiro's outlet. Maybe it is Daily Wire. But anyway, that last statement, I want to point that out. They said Facebook gave us the runaround. They censored us, and then they ignored us. Well, let's see if that's true. Now, Facebook actually responded to the conservative duo on Twitter and included a screenshot of a message it posted on Diamond and Silk's page. This is from BuzzFeed. Let me show you that right now. That's interesting. Hi, Diamond and Silk. A member of our team emailed you on Monday. This was back early in April. And we commented on your Facebook post yesterday. We'd love the chance to speak with you about this issue and any questions you might have. And this is, of course, on a video where they claim that Facebook is censoring their posts. Furthermore, let me go to the next one. This is in response to a tweet from Laura Ingraham, who is going to bring on, or had brought on, Diamond and Silk to talk about how they are being censored on Facebook. This is Facebook on Twitter responding to Diamond and Silk. And of course, Laura Ingraham. Thank you for bringing this up. On Monday, we emailed Diamond and Silk twice. On Tuesday, we called and commented on their Facebook post. Shared this comment with Fox News, too. We hope to get the chance to talk to them soon. So who exactly is giving who the runaround here? But look, here's the thing. They don't care about that because it doesn't fit their narrative. They want to talk about how liberals always play the victim. No, in this case, it's clearly Diamond and Silk trying to play the victim so they can get more views. Now, look, they're screaming and crying about being censored on. You're just trying to silence my voice. You have limited my reach. When I have shown you all the ways that is absolutely not true. And of course, they ignore that, and they ignore the fact that liberal pages have also been impacted by lower views thanks to these changes. But despite all that, they want to sit there and they cry and they scream discrimination. It should be fairly obvious now why. All they're doing is they're doing this to get views. Again, as I showed you, as I pointed out earlier, as soon as they started screaming discrimination and censorship, that's when they got a bump in their views. Make no mistake, this is all an act. This is all a part of their grift. And you know what? Grifters are going grift. And that's exactly what they're doing. Okay. So that was fun. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We got Ben Carson on HUD changes. We also have Fox News and universal basic income. That's an interesting story and all that. So we'll get to those stories as soon as we come back. Stay right here. Run the Nation. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Run the Nation right here, TYT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. I got a couple of super chats, one super chat to read anyway. Evil Mira says, I just had a Luther burger and I was fine with the world. What is a Luther burger? I'm kind of curious about that. Never heard of one of those. Never really had one of those. So, but hey, thank you for the chat anyway. And it's interesting to find out what other people had for lunch, I guess. So, anyway, thank you. Your super chat goes to help the show, so thank you. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go to our next story. Let's get off of that. And Ben Carson. So Ben Carson is the secretary of HUD, and he thinks that poor people have it a little bit too easy. Now, according to the Washington Post, HUD Secretary Ben Carson has now proposed a far-reaching change to federal housing subsidies on Wednesday, tripling rent for the poorest households and making it easier for household authorities to impose work requirements. So you understand? Ben Carson just tripled your rent if you're somebody who's poor enough to be on housing assistance. Now, the initiative unveiled by Carson would raise the rent for tenants in subsidized housing to 35% of your gross income, or 35% of their earnings working 15 hours a week at the federal minimum wage. That is up from the current standard of about 30% of adjusted income. Now, how many people would this affect? Apparently about 4.7 million families that receive housing benefits. Now, the cap on rent for the poorest families would rise to about $150 a month. That's 3 times higher than the current $50 ceiling. Now, about 712,000 households would see their monthly rents rise to $150. Because look, if you are poorest of the poor, right? If you're somebody that has to pay $50 for your rent because you have such little money, your rent is going to be tripled. I don't think that there are people out there that could afford that. If you are that poor, you're not living high on the hog. You're not doing well enough to see your rent triple. So that's disastrous. Now there's more. HUD apparently also wants to scrap rules allowing deductions for medical and childcare costs when determining rents, which Carson said gave some tenants an unfair advantage. Now wait a minute here. So look, we know in America childcare is prohibitively expensive, incredibly expensive. So how does not being allowed to deduct that so that you can pay a rent that you can afford while being able to afford childcare? Because remember, people go and put their kid in childcare so they can actually work, so they can do their jobs. How's that an unfair advantage? Or how about this? Say if you have a medical condition that limits your ability to work, but doesn't exactly qualify you as being disabled. What about that? No, I guess those people are shit out of luck, man. Fuck you, I got mine. I guess that's the phrase of the day, or of the entire administration. But look, Ben Carson, as I said before, he thinks these programs are just way, way too generous. Now, he says of people deducting childcare expenses, for example, they know how to include certain deductions that other people may not be aware of. We really want to level the playing field and make it much more even for everyone. So, tripling people's rent and making it so that you can't get deductions, that you eliminate the deduction altogether, well, that's leveling the playing field. Basically, yeah, we're going to take it away from everybody. Don't you enjoy your new level playing field? We just happen to have leveled it a little bit lower. Ridiculous, right? No, if you really wanted to level the playing field, make more people aware of the deductions that they're able to get. That would help out. But wait, no, never mind. I forgot who I was talking about. It's Ben Carson. And Ben Carson is, of course, one of the people appointed by Trump to destroy the agency, to dismantle all the social safety nets that are in this case, HUD. Now, Carson's proposed bill, along that same line, would also allow public housing authorities to impose work requirements. Now, seniors over the age of 65 and individuals with disabilities would be exempt for the rent increase for the first 6 years. So after 6 years, disabled people and elderly people who are on fixed incomes will see their rent rise by 3 times. Now, HUD officials said that the group makes up more than half of the 4.7 million families receiving subsidies right now. Now, thankfully, at least people with disabilities and people who are over 65 are at least exempt from those work requirements for now. I wouldn't be surprised with, like, you know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to raise the Social Security retirement age to 70, and then we're going to make all those old people go back to work. I wouldn't be surprised. Look, these are another set of changes that Republicans have been very clear on wanting to do. Oh, no, we want to reform welfare. What do you think reforming welfare is? Making it more generous? No, that's never what they mean. They always mean we're going to make cuts, we're going to put in work requirements, and we're going to basically decrease the amount of subsidies that we give to poor people. And look, they're doing this because they want to, quote unquote, reform welfare. Again, following in the Bill Clinton model, of course. And look, they're not even close to done with this. Just last week, House Republicans also advanced a plan to strengthen work requirements for people on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, as part of the 2018 Farm Bill. Now, the proposal approved by the House Agriculture Committee would expand work requirements, mandating that most adult recipients under 60 work part-time or enroll in a state-run training program. It would apply to as many as 7 million adults. Now, Democrats and anti-hunger advocates do say the proposed work requirements could force as many as 1 million people off the program over the next 10 years, citing estimates from the Congressional Budget Office. Now, they have also expressed doubts about the proposed expansion of state job training programs for recipients. Now, look, when it comes to job training, okay, that's fine, but don't put in work requirements unless you have a federal job guarantee. Unless there's a job out for everybody who wants one, guaranteed by the government, then you shouldn't put in work requirements for government services. Because, look, our system is structured so that there will always be unemployed people. There will always be people who cannot find jobs. That's the way our system is structured. So if you add in work requirements in that kind of system, when you know that not everybody can get a job, well, that's just needlessly cruel. But, again, that pretty much explains Republicans, right? And look, the truth is that it's not welfare that we spend most of our money on, like Republicans want you to believe. It's actually things like tax cuts for the rich, subsidies to wealthy corporations, and military spending. Again, this spending does not necessarily go to the troops or equipment for the troops, but actually goes to defense contractors and right into the CEO's pockets. Look, these programs are actually a very small sliver of the budget, these welfare programs. They're minuscule. So, of course, it's the hypocrisy, right? Oh, no, we just blew a $1.9 trillion hole in the budget. And now what are we going to do? We're going to have to cut welfare. We're going to have to cut food stamps. We're going to cut housing assistance. We're going to have to go after Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. That's next, by the way. And look, the thing about that tax cut is most of it, a majority of it, went right into the pockets of the rich, into the corporations. And here's what they're planning to do. The Republicans are planning to do another round of tax cuts. And then guess what happens after that? More debt, or what they'll claim is more debt, and more reason for them to say, we got to cut your Social Security. There's nothing we can do. Look at our deficits. They're so enormous. We got to do something about it. And guess what? They're going to take it. Just like they're taking all these other programs that help the poor, that help the elderly, that help the vulnerable. In case you're not aware yet, Republicans don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about you. They don't care. They don't care. All they want is the money for themselves and their rich donors. And that's exactly who Ben Carson and the rest of the people in the Trump administration are continuing to serve. That's their true masters. Okay. Here we go. Are you going to be surprised to find out that Fox News just lied about something? Well, hold on to your hats. All right. So recently, Finland has been running an experiment on the universal basic income. So that's basically where the government decides to give people money. No strings attached, right? Now, the Finnish government, it's been reported at several different places that the Finnish government has rejected a proposal to extend the experiment. Now, let me give you what Fox News has reported. They said the Finnish government announced Tuesday that it will end the country's universal basic program by year's end and appears to be taking on new measures to cut benefits to those who do not actively seek employment. They also said Finland was the first European country Finland was considered the first European country to pay a monthly check of $685 to its unemployed between ages 25 and 58. It was considered a pilot program serving 2,000 randomly selected jobless people that its founders hope to expand. Okay. Now, Wired, however, reports it a little bit differently. Now, they said, although many reports claim that this meant the end of the basic income in Finland, this actually means that the experiment will only run until the end of 2018, as initially planned. So Fox News basically reports it as, they decided to pull the plug. I guess they got sick of paying all those lazy bums. Whereas Wired says, no, they're ending it exactly where they said they were going to end it. Now, there's the question of why. Why they decided to end it, right? Again, Fox News was like, well, obviously, it doesn't work. Universal basic income, you're just giving it to lazy people who are going to sit around their couches and eat ding-dongs and smoke pot. Which actually sounds kind of fun. But anyway, now, Wired's just saying, no, they ended the program because that's when they said they were going to end the program. Now they're going to study what actually happened. In fact, I have a quote here about this and about the media reports about this. Now, this is Miska Simon. I can't say his last name, sorry. But he's a researcher at Kela. That is the Finnish government agency behind the trial of universal basic income. Now, he says, quote, it seems that there's some misinformation spreading in international media about the Finnish basic income experiment. Well, you don't say. Gee, no, are you saying that Fox News would intentionally misreport a story to put a specific spin on it? No. I am shocked. I thought Fox News operated at the highest levels of journalistic integrity. I know, laugh along with me, right? Now, Miska continues. He says, quote, there are currently no plans to continue or expand the experiment after 2018. But this is not new information. Now, again, this was reported by Fox News as new information, but they're not the only one. This was also reported by the New York Times. Now, they wrote, and this is a New York Times piece on this, the Finnish government has opted not to continue financing it this year, a reflection of public discomfort with the idea of dispensing government largesse free of requirements that its recipients seek work. So, again, look at that framing. And this is coming from the New York Times, which was quoted by Fox News. So, or linked to by Fox News. Now, look, that framing, of course, is not true. Now, Miska explains, the Finnish government will now wait for results from this initial trial before making any decisions about a wider rollout of the initiative. And look, it is very possible that they could find something that is basically means to not roll out this program in a wider initiative. And they could find that people decided to sit on their ass and eat ding-dongs and smoke pot. Again, that sounds awesome. But anyway, wouldn't want to do it every day, though. I would eventually want to do something, and I would probably end up doing the show still if I got a UBI. But anyway, it'd be a lot easier to live, though. That's for sure. Excuse me. Now, he explains, the results from the trial will be available by the end of 2019 or the beginning of 2020. So again, they're going to do the research. They're going to see what happened when they gave jobless people money. Did they go out and did they look for jobs? Or did they sit on their butt? Or did they go and create businesses, which is the whole idea behind a UBI, that you give people a cushion, a little bit of a safety net, so that they can actually work out some ideas, maybe become entrepreneurs or go back to school or do something, or maybe just work a little bit less or have one of their family members stop working. They can spend more time with the family. That's also a positive outcome. Not so much economically, but I think personally that would be a great outcome. We don't know. We'll have to wait for the results. So maybe Fox News should wait, and the New York Times should wait before coming to this conclusion. But again, this was already a foregone conclusion. They don't care about the results. All they want to do is try to prevent the idea from taking off here. Now, let me give you more details into what Finland is actually doing. Now, they're experimenting with a very narrow vision of a basic income that would focus on understanding whether giving monthly payments to people out of work changes their employment prospects. Now, since January of 2017, a random sample of 2,000 unemployed people had been given a monthly 560 euros with no obligation to seek or accept employment during the duration of the trial. According to the BBC, Kela had asked the government for an extra 40 to 70 million euros to fund basic income for a group of employed people, which would actually be more closer to an actual true universal system. Again, universal basic income means that everybody gets an income regardless of if you work or not. So, look, unfortunately they didn't get that because right now, strangely enough, Finland has a center-right government focused more on austerity. But I look at Finland and they make our right wing look like socialists. So that's just how crazy the Overton window has gotten here in America. Now, they say that reforming the Social Security system is strongly on the political agenda. Now, there it doesn't necessarily mean the same as it does in America, where reform always tends to mean cuts. In this case, when they talk about reform, they talk about whether or not they're adding a universal basic income to everybody. So that's the kind of reform they're talking from the center-right government. Crazy. Now, Miska explains, however, politicians are also discussing many other models of Social Security than just basic income. We expect to see a lot of discussions on Social Security reforms and further experiments then. So again, to recap, they're not pulling the plug. They're just planning to end the experiment right on time, just as they has always planned to do. And then they're going to study the results, and then they're going to move forward on policy decisions later on. Isn't that amazing to see what a functional government looks like? They do an experiment, they collect the results, they study the results, and then they decide what to do on a policy basis based on those results. That's amazing. We don't do that here in America. Instead, it's like, no, my rhetoric says we cut taxes for the rich, and then it trickles down on everybody. Well, we just accept that. And so let's just do it. But the Congressional Budget Office says you're going to blow a $1.9 trillion hole in the deficit. I don't care about that. That's facts, fake news, right? We operate on alternative facts. So let's just go ahead and do it because that's going to make my donors so incredibly happy. That's how we work in America. And it's very interesting to see how a functional democracy works. But anyway, what the New York Times and Fox News is reporting is basically from a specific viewpoint, a specific framing, that the government And the people are uncomfortable at the end of the day with giving out what they call free money to basically lazy people for doing nothing. And so they're going to say that any end to any of these UBI programs, and specifically this program, was a result of that discomfort and a result. And so they're looking at this through a specific right-wing framing. But that's not the reality. The reality is they're doing an experiment just like a lot of other countries are also doing a similar experiment. In fact, let me give you some details. Give you some details on that. In Ontario, Canada, for example, 2 cities and a town have been on a trial of a basic income since June of 2017. The participants, who can have any employment status, are split into 2 groups. You have one who receives basic income payments of up to $17,000 in Canadian dollars, while the others don't get anything at all. So there's a control group, and then there's obviously the group that okay, so I'm unfamiliar with that phrase, but there's one group that gets money, there's one group that does not get money. Okay, fair enough. Now, people at work will also have their payments reduced by about 50%. And it's only available to those who are on a low income. So it's not truly universal. But again, this is a trial program. Now, currently about 2,000 people are taking part in that Canadian trial, although that figure is expected to rise to about 4,000 as the trial continues. And now people in the group receiving that money could be part of the experiment for as long as 3 years. So this could go on until 2020. Now, Canada isn't the only one. Spain is also looking into it, specifically people of Barcelona. Now, they're in the middle of their own basic income experiment, launched in October of 2017, called Be Min Come. The trial involves 2,000 participants, again, half of them in a control group that doesn't receive any money. The other half is receiving around, I think, 400 to 525 euros over the next 2 years. The money comes with some conditions, however. It's given to households, not individuals, and some participants only receive the money if they attend support programs related to employment, housing, and community action. Scotland is also taking their own tentative steps towards basic income. However, there are no details on how that's actually going to work. And of course, here in America, there is one town that is actually looking to do this as well, and that's Stockton, California. Now, the reason that Fox News and all these other outlets that have reported on this from corporate media hate this is because, well, this could mean higher taxes on them if this works. The people in Stockton do end up starting more businesses and do end up having more positive results and finding better work and helping the community as a result of universal basic income. Well, then these people who are wealthy, they're like, oh shit, we might actually see higher taxes. We're going to have to pay higher taxes so that those people, the people that we don't like, end up getting free money. Well, I don't like that. I want to keep my own money, and then I want to hoard it, or I want to put it in the stock market where I can make even more money. Again, a lot of this is about greed. So that is why you see all these establishment outlets that are deeply skeptical of the program. Now, that's no reason not to experiment with this. And look, with so many people in places that are actually trying this out, it's not a surprise to see the elites wanting to frame it in a certain way in order to try to destroy and discredit the idea. This is really scary for them. So that's why they don't want to do it. Okay. We got one more story here. But I'm going to need a minute, so I'm going to take a very quick break. We'll come back. We'll do the last story. Stay right here, around the nation. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, TYT Nation. Jeff Waldorf here with you. If you haven't already, please give us a like and a share. Definitely appreciate that. Also, use the super chat. That helps the show a great deal. And if you want to continue to support the show on a monthly basis, you can also go and go to our Patreon, patreon.com/TYT Nation. Again, patreon.com/TYT Nation. That helps the show continue to go and grow. If I didn't have that, wouldn't be a show. Wouldn't be able to afford to do it. All right, anyway. Let's move on here. We got one last story, and it's kind of a good story. So let's get into it. Well, look at that. We've got a Democrat doing something good when it comes to the banks. Oh, my God. All right. So watch out, bankers. Here comes public banking. Very interesting. Now, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand has decided to introduce legislation that would require every post office to provide basic banking services. Now, that is excellent news. That is an excellent piece of legislation. And so let's get into some of the details here. Now, basically, the central goal of the bill is to replace risky financial products like payday loans, for example, with a public alternative. Now, let me get into the details here. Under Gillibrand's proposal, Americans could cash their paychecks and deposit money in accounts free of charge at each post office location. Deposits would be capped at the larger of two amounts, $20,000, or the median balance in all Americans' bank accounts. Now, the post office would also be able to distribute loans to borrowers of up to $1,000 at an interest rate that is higher than the yield on a 1-month Treasury bond. That's currently of about a rate of about 2%. So that is a fascinating proposal. Now, look, this has a lot of support. Again, I support it because I think it's a fantastic idea. I mean, look, there's a post office everywhere. And there are so many people right now that don't have access to banks, or the banks that they have access to are more like loan sharks. Again, those payday lenders, right? Now, again, Gillibrand said in an interview with HuffPost, the reason that she put this together is that she says this is a solution to take on the payday lenders, to take on the problems that the unbanked have all across the country. It's a solution whose time has come. Now, launching a postal banking system would require startup funding that could either be obtained from a loan from the Treasury or a congressional appropriation, which under Republicans is very unlikely. However, this would help out not only people who are poor, who are unbanked or underbanked, but also this would help out the post office. If even 10% of the money, they say, Americans currently spend on the interest and fees for risky financial products went towards postal banking loans that cost 90% less, the post office would gain a total of $9 billion in annual revenue. Now, literally, the only person who's going to be against this is somebody who wants to protect payday lenders. Now, do we know anybody who loves payday lenders? Yeah, that would be Mick Mulvaney, head of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He absolutely loves the payday lenders. He favors the payday lenders. That's because he got paid $63,000 when he was in Congress by payday lenders. So, and look, other Republicans, of course, have also been paid off by payday lenders. Now, again, who could use this? I mentioned unbanked and underbanked, right? Well, according to HuffPost, more than 1/4 of American households are either unbanked, meaning they lack someone with a bank account altogether, or underbanked, which basically means that they have to rely on payday loans or other alternative lenders to supplement the services of a traditional bank. Now, why would that be? Well, look, there are some banks that charge you money to store your money. So if you don't have a certain amount in your checking account, for example, or your bank account, they'll charge you money. That's an insane proposition. What, are you saying you're going to charge me money for not having money? That's insanity. There are a lot of banks that do that, and there are also places where there is just no bank that seems to be accessible. So, look, and it's no surprise that the people that are unbanked or underbanked happen to be mostly poor and minorities. So, this is a solution that could help them, because while there may not be a bank, a traditional bank or a bank in the traditional sense, in that neighborhood, there is a post office, and they could do these services too. So now, the average underbanked household, I'll give you more stats here, has an annual income of $25,500 and spends nearly 10% on alternative financial products and associated fees. This is according to a 2011 KPMG study. Now, Black and Latino households are more likely to be both unbanked and underbanked, and the unbanked ranked among Black households is about 18.2%, compared with 7% for the population as a whole. So, if you do this, if you actually allow the post office to also provide these financial services, that's going to help a lot of people. That's going to be incredibly beneficial. So, and look, Gillibrand, she might not always be a good progressive, but on this issue, this is an excellent piece of legislation. And I hope that there is a time where we can actually get this passed. So I want to give Gillibrand some credit on this, because, look, this is something that needs to happen. It is time. Okay. Anyway. So, that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. I want to give a couple of shout-outs to people who have donated to the Super Chat. Of course, I want to give a thanks out to Platypie, of course, who doesn't have a message. Kieran says, got my conservative cop brother to start watching your show, at least some clips, a while back. You've been getting through to him. He registered as an independent today. Thought you'd want to know. That is excellent. If I can get to somebody to see a different perspective and to maybe think about, you know what, maybe I'm not that. Maybe I have some different views. Maybe I'm not a Republican. Maybe I'm not a conservative. Maybe I do actually care about people. Then that is wonderful. That is excellent. So I'm glad to see that evolution. Independent is great. And we don't have to agree on everything, but it's good to see that people are evolving, people are changing. Now, Kimberly Buckley says, I just want to thank you for all your hard work and dedication to the truth. Peace and love. Thank you. And I want to thank you guys for the dedication to this show and for helping me to continue. So thank you. Those super chats help the show. Finally, Platify has a question. It's 5:30. Is it acceptable to make a sandwich? Depends. I just Kamala Harris'd you. No. Do whatever you want, man. I was somebody back in my 20s where I could just make a pan of brownies in the morning or afternoon or evening and then eat said pan of brownies. Probably explains why I have heartburn now. But anyway, do you, man. You want a sandwich? Go ahead and have a sandwich. But thank you for your contribution. Thank you for helping the show. You guys are awesome. All right. With that, I'm going to get out of here. So everybody have a great, safe, and happy afternoon, evening, or whatever time zone that you're in. And I will see you guys tomorrow around the nation. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, TYT Nation. See you all tomorrow.